On the panel, Dada, size Lord, 10th position Dada.
How's it going? Hey, it's all about consistency. It's crazy how like some of us are sitting in tents, but we're not acting like it. You know what I'm saying? We got a legacy pride where we got a chip on our shoulder. And you got some people in first position and they're not even confident.
Some shots were fired there.
Yeah,
Patrick Vieira, one of the greatest central midfielders, of the Premier League and Europe of our time. Took over Palace. I just want to give some quick context. Last year, I think they were 12th, and the reason I'm bringing it, they finished 12th. And at this point in the season, I remember last year, they literally have the same points now that they had last year. The same stats, goals-wise. I think the rating that has dropped is their expected, for the start nerds, their underlying stats, expected goals has dropped significantly. But he has been sacked. Apparently came out from Athletic that some of the players, he lost some of the players, and that the style of play has considerably been bad. There's no tactical plan. And also, some of the management, he started losing them. So, want to get people's thoughts on Patrick. I think it's only nice we start with EJ. Since Patrick was is an Arsenal legend. What are your thoughts on Patrick Saka?
yeah. I mean, I think the timing just seems off. I'll say, I mean, it's not too off when you think about it, but just in the context of the fact that they played these strong teams in a row, just their fixtures were just tough for any team. And then he's being punished for tough fixtures, basically. I don't know if anyone thought that he would truly get a result in any of these games, including us. So the next 8 fixtures they have the next 10, the rest of their fixtures are pretty much bottom dwellers against bottom dwelling teams. You said only two of the fixtures left are against teams in the top 8, maybe Fulham and something else, some other team, I can't remember. But basically, they really have a chance to stay up. I don't think they were at any true risk of going down. So apart from the fact that you're saying he lost the dressing room, who are these people? No, they shouldn't have sacked him. And it's something that I don't want to play the race card just yet. I mean, there is some element to that. Like when they're just the amount of time you're not giving these coaches when you put things in context. It wasn't a Frank Lampard type thing. Frank Lampard had to go. He was losing all the games. That was just what we were seeing.
Yeah.
This one came out of left field. You can kind of tell when the manager is going to get sacked, and nobody called that. Like we're all minding our business. Next thing he's fired. So I don't really like what that means for Patrick Vieira because, as our former player, we're really enjoying the fact that he was in the Premier League and showing some level of competitiveness. Every once in a while, the Crystal Palace was never a team that you could just push over. If we're being honest, like for the most part, even when they lose, they're not just gifting you the game. They really put up a fight.
I think EJ did bring up something interesting is when you talk about, I mean, when I was preparing for this podcast, it's hard to leave race out of it just because, I mean, I think it's a statistical anomaly that you don't have enough black coaches in the EPL, right? Considering how, maybe, I don't know the numbers, but at least over 50% or over 40% of the players are black. And if you assume that, players naturally go from being players to managers, I think it's a bit weird that we don't have enough black coaches. So I think I have a soft spot for Patrick Vieira just because he's a black man and he was doing well last season. And I thought, that would just, create the precedence and, kind of open the door for other, black football players to take on these managerial roles. Because at every point in this season, it's always maybe I think every 3 years, every 4 years, we get a black manager and you think this is it, and maybe we might get 2 more. But correct me if I'm wrong, we've never had 2 at a time. But according to some website, they consider Nuno to be black. So I think there was a time we had Nuno and we had Patrick Vieira at the same time. But when Chris Hilton was at Newcastle in the summer, Brighton, it was just him. So I don't know who the next token black manager is going to be. But so I think from a race perspective, that sucks. How you guys follow Crystal Palace during the preseason? Bishop, the owner, there was a disagreement on how to handle the preseason. Patrick Vieira wanted to keep the players local so he can trade with all the players. They wanted to play some preseason game in Turkey and part of the Middle East. He had to separate the team. So that's one of the contributing factors to their performance. Another big thing that a lot of folks have mentioned is Conor Gallagher was a massive player for Crystal Palace. I feel like he was their top player.
That's true.
When they lost him to Chelsea, and I don't know if they tried as much as they could to try to sign him, but Patrick Vieira really wanted to keep Conor Gallagher. They didn't. By the time they lost him, they didn't replace him at all, right? And if you looked at all the games that they played with or without Gallagher, it's a massive, massive difference. The FA Cup against us was a big example of that. So, I mean, there are reasons why, they didn't set him up for success. That's really the key point. They didn't set him up for success. I hope he's able to bounce back from this and get another job. I doubt it, just because, as we know, the way if you have too much melanin, you only get one chance. And once you don't perform, that's it. They're just going to say, well, we tried. Yeah. And lastly, if you look on the website and the wording, they were very apologetic. They were very sad. They made it seem like, man, this is the worst decision ever. It pained us to have done this. Is that optics? Do they really mean it? Who knows? So that's my take.
Good points all around. Let's get comments. Okay, says Vieira sacking was surprising. I wonder what the Palace board expect. Next few games are Leicester, Leeds, Southampton, Everton, Wolves, West Ham, Hispanic. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely agree. His next comment was black coaches are rarely given a team with elite talent. They are nearly always given these mid to bottom table clubs. If company ever gets the City job, maybe the first black coach, elite club, they will never go to company. Never.
Referring to the last comment, it was a surprising announcement that he got fired. I think Palace they've played some good football this season. I'm not sure about this whole not liking Vieira's style of play. Obviously, when you have a player like Zaha in such a team, obviously it's going to be Zaha football, right? He's their main guy. They have a very young team as well. I know Crystal has a good youth academy. They have a very young team that's still trying to figure it out under a new coach. So it was very surprising that he got sacked. They're 12th in the league as well. It's not like they're doing that bad, right? So it's definitely I don't have anything personally to say whether it's
they've dropped.
There might have been something that happened inside like that we're not aware of yet. I think it's still very fresh, and I think as time goes on, we will get to know what happened, the full story. There might have been a disagreement between the board and Vieira, but I'm really surprised. Like I said, I think everybody's surprised. They had a young team. They were not playing bad football, and it's going to be very interesting because they were not close to relegation, so there was no risk of losing players, right? Like the likes of Everton right now that has a risk of losing 90% of their players. So I don't see the immediate need to sack Vieira, but it is what it is with some clubs. I find that small clubs are very quick to make such rash decisions versus the big clubs. You look at Liverpool, not saying that club should get fired, but what he's doing right now, it's not the greatest. You look at Potter at Chelsea as well. Those are the Potter is a manager that you would think should be getting a sack, but he's not. So I don't see why Crystal Palace is jumping the gun on this decision, but only time will tell. I think there's more to the story, but only time will tell.
To be fair, they're just 3 points above relegation zone.
They're close.
Yeah, the season has been very tight because if you look at the top 10 versus the bottom 10, it's only a couple of points that separates the 10th place team and the 12th place team. So yeah, but that's what's making the season so amazing, right? That's why this is one of my favorite seasons in a long time, is because there's competition across the league.
Yeah, it's 4 points between Palace and 12th. Palace is on 27 points. Southampton is on 23 points. And Southampton have 4. This is crazy.
How many points does Leicester have? Leicester and West Ham.
Leicester is 25 points.
West Ham?
West Ham is 24.
Yeah, so I think, teams like Brendan Rodgers, the fact that Brendan Rodgers still has his job when he has lost 90% of his games.
Yeah, but I get that though, but I think sometimes too, to your point, I think the reason why small clubs and kind of mid-table clubs are rash is the fallout or the downside of failure is very high for them, right? So like if Crystal Palace gets relegated, man, it's gonna take them a long time to come back up. So that's why they panic, right? Because them losing, 30 million, 40 million a year, it's a lot. Why Chelsea can miss out on 2 Champions League seasons and still be okay. So I think that's why they're not as rational as some of these established clubs. If I was to think about it from their perspective, just trying
it's like 150 million. He said 30. It's 150 million they lose.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, the financial damage is going to be impactful.
Play the race card, and I would say Tottenham is not a small club. It's not a small club. Nuno Espirito is from Sao Tome and Principe in Central Africa, right? If he was fired, and Tottenham is a big coach. I mean, Tottenham is a big club, and he was fired. But I know it's a results game, but we had Lampard lose forever at Everton. We have Graham Potter every day. We are just showing up to see him lose, but he still has his job. So. And to be very honest, if you swing by the 5 of us, this is the best we have ever seen Crystal Palace play in our lifetime. Yeah. I don't know about you guys. So there is really no justification. I think it was too quick to pull the trigger. They pulled the trigger with so much comfort that it baffled me. But I think Vieira doesn't have to defend himself here. He's done an incredible job with that Palace team. I know we joke around, we call them the EPL AFCON team, but they do play good football. They play good, they really play good football. He's been able to set them up well. And the funny thing is, Crystal Palace is the only sort of like mid-table team that can beat anyone.
Yeah.
On their day, they can beat any of the big teams on their day. And
it's always a tough ground to go to as well.
Yeah,
like Crystal Palace is those teams that you can say, "Oh, you're just going to walk over them."
Yeah, you can.
Before this season, we haven't beaten Crystal Palace at Crystal Palace in maybe 4 years.
Yeah,
like it's not an easy ground to go to.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, before this season, they were the ones always beating City.
Yeah, exactly.
Consistently, like how many years in a row? I agree. The last part I want to add before we go onto our brackets is what baffles me the most is they invested so much in the principle of Vieira. They did. Because when they fired Hodgson and brought in Vieira, they overhauled the squad, brought in young players. They said they want to play this progressive style of football. They brought in close to 11 players, remember? And what's so fun is, I remember last season, all the predictions predicted Vieira's Palace, beginning of last season, to go down because how can you bring in 12 players at the same time? There was so much criticism. I remember this. And he hit the ground running, fantastic football. Okay, very good football for their level, still very greedy, good team. You saw the rise of Maguire because of what they were playing. All of a sudden, Maguire got into the national team. Olise, Eze, they were playing really good football. So that's the one thing. And now they're saying they want to go back and get Roy Hodgson again. Like what?
Such a regression. Such a regression.
That's the first part. The second part
it doesn't make sense.
They brought it up. It's like heavily for a team like that, you have to be heavily rely on like highly talented players. Zaha was out for like 5-6 games. Like, what did they expect? Zaha is their most clinical player. Is that it creates the most shots for the team. He's not against most of the quality shots. He scores most of the goals. Their key players out for 5 games. What did they expect? And they played all the top teams. They still got points. When they played us, I know they played us. They got 2 points from us away and almost got a point in Old Trafford, even though for like gritty defending. So yeah, it's just weird. It's just a weird call.
Yeah, it is.
It's a very weird call. And they are not careful, they might get relegated because this is one of those seasons where like everybody is saying 12 to 20 is just 5 points.
Yeah.
Before you know it, they get 5 games to go and they are in the bottom half, in the bottom 3.
Whew.
And that's when it will become very real for them.